Okay, here we are on the Tempu Hill, or mountain. It's actually just under 500 meters, and here in the land of Suriname, anything 500 meters or less is called a hill, so we'll call it the Tempu Hill, but it's actually like a hill mountain. And it's a very high hill for this region, about 500 meters, just under 500 meters, and a great time to hear the word of the Lord. And we'll start today in Genesis 7:19. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. Now Moses stood atop a hill, watching and assisting the children of Israel. But how many know? Now Moses. Okay. Now during the Exodus, there was a battle, and Moses stood up on a hill with the rod of God. Well, his rod, we're told, and assisting the children of Israel in the battle. But how many know that the rod of God he held in his hand, what it actually was? And we're going to look at in the book of Exodus 17:9. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in mine hand. Exodus 17:10. So Joshua did as Moses said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. Now when they were fighting these giants, Moses would hold the rod of God in the air, and Israel would be winning. But when he let his hands down, the Amalekite giants would start winning at Rephaim. Now Rephaim, of course, was where he had struck the rock and the water come out. And verse 11, and it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and they sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. Man, the whole day to the going down of the sun, they held his hands up. Wow, to keep that rod in the air. Now, do your hands get heavy holding up this book? Do your hands get heavy holding up this book? Can't even pick up this book and read it on your own? Believing this book? Do you believe this book? Too much to pick it up and read it in your spare time? Moses and his people had the rod of God. Where's your rod? What did Jeremiah see? Remember Jeremiah back in Jeremiah 1? Was it not the same rod as Moses carried? Let's just read that. Jeremiah 1:11. Jeremiah 1:11. Jeremiah 1:11. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what seest thou? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Of course, it was Aaron's rod that parted the Red Sea, turned the water into blood, brought frogs upon the land, and turned the sand into lice upon the Egyptians, or the dust into lice upon the Egyptians, and their beasts. Let's just look at that. Numbers 17:3. And thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi, for one rod shall be for the head of the house of their fathers. And we'll see Aaron's rod again because it was placed into the Ark of the Covenant. We'll see Aaron's rod again because it was placed in the Ark of the Covenant. And that's told to us in Hebrews 9:4. Let's look in Hebrews 9:4. Hebrews 9, verse 4. Which had the golden censer and the Ark of the Covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tablets of the covenant. So one day very soon, these hills are going to quake at the presence of the Lord. And we can see that in the book of Nahum. We'll go to Nahum 1, 4-8. And he rebuked the sea, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yeah, the world, and all that dwell therein. The hills quake, yes. Who can stand before his indignation? And who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. Now we'll get on with our expedition in search of evidence for God's 6-day creation, if that's what it was. Or was there really a gap between Genesis 1 and 2? Let's go on with this expedition and this study. Thanks all for listening.